His billboard defacing his picture. And some celebrations for them after Gaddafi's son had warned that there would be rivers of blood on the streets of the capital.
As the fog hangs warily over London, we can always offer you the perfect pick-me-up.
Hello again. Well, we have had reports of tornadoes across the states, but now the weather system responsible is beginning to move away. It was this area of cloud here that gave us all our heavy downpours and some hail as well. But now, as it clears away, we'll just see it trailing its feet there over the extreme southern parts of Florida as we head through the day on Wednesday. Behind it, it's going to stay quite cool. So we're looking at a top temperature in Washington, D.C. of 14 and New York around 9. Meanwhile, further west, more wet weather piling in here from the Pacific. Some of that turning to snow, as you might expect. And still quite cool here. LA, they're just struggling to around 17 or 18 degrees during the day. Now, a bit further south, and there is a lot of sunshine to be found here, particularly through Cuba there and down through Haiti and the Dominican Republic. But we're not all seeing sunshine. Elsewhere, well, you can see through Nicaragua there and all the way down towards Colombia, there's quite a few outbreaks of rain around, and those over Colombia are going to be really very heavy, and there is the risk of seeing some flooding here. As we head up towards Europe, it's quite quiet for most of us and still fairly chilly. But in the Mediterranean, that's where we've got a very active area of low pressure. We're seeing incredibly strong winds out of this and very heavy downpours as well. And over the mountains in Italy, we are going to see more in the way of snow as well. Across the other side of the Mediterranean, there's also more in the way of wet weather there for AlJazeera.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
All the news, all the time. AlJazeera.net/English.
Qatar, as independent as you are.
Gaddafi's forces lay siege to the western city of AlJazeera, but opposition groups hold out. Glad you're with us here on AlJazeera, 1900 GMT, and David Foster with you from Doha. Also in this program,
in the years ahead, Libya could become a peaceful democracy, or it could face protracted civil war, or it could descend into chaos.
What does the future hold? Asked Mrs. Clinton. As desperate for help, hundreds of thousands flee the violence in Libya. The caretaker government in Tunisia under increasing pressure as 3 more ministers resign. The United Nations is warning of a growing humanitarian crisis in Libya. It says more than 140,000 people have fled the uprising. World leaders are ramping up political and economic pressure on Muammar Gaddafi, trying to smoke him out. The situation on the ground, though, still extremely volatile. In AlJazeera, the rebel army officer says military units are preparing to launch an attack against troops still loyal to Gaddafi. In the western city of Zintan, there are reports that Gaddafi's forces are planning to retake it. And in the east, in Benghazi, protesters say they will keep up their fight. Lawrence Lee reports.
Gaddafi routinely accuses the media of bias, but the most dispassionate analysis must suggest things really aren't going very well for him. This is the town of Nalut in western Libya, and here they want him gone. They're impatient too, because basic supplies are running out.
I've been waiting for 20 minutes and still there's no fuel. I just need it for my home, nothing more.
Reports from Zawiya, also in the west, reflect an increasingly desperate situation for Gaddafi. His army reportedly attempted to charge the town from two sides overnight, but suffered losses and withdrew, though not before several soldiers apparently surrendered, changing sides. The ineffectual nature of Gaddafi's military options appears to have prompted another classic siege tactic against towns like Nalut and Zawiya, blocking basic supplies to starve the town.
Yes, some sort of vegetables and things. Some people, they came to bring and they prevent them.
Evidence from the other side of the country too reinforces the suggestion that Gaddafi is not capable of much of a fight. This is AlJazeera in eastern Libya, where the army abandoned a massive ammunitions dump and left it in the hands of the opposition. Attempts by Gaddafi's air force to blow it up didn't amount to much past a hole in the ground before they were repelled.
Whether it is the European Union or the Arabs or America or even Russia, we ask them to just shut down this man's airspace. We are capable of taking him out by ourselves, but we are only requesting the international community to enforce a no-fly zone.
The city of Misrata too is holding out against pro-Gaddafi forces. This video clip apparently showing a successful strike against an army helicopter. With so many places now raising the flag of opposition, what of tribal allegiances? The most likely to stay loyal are people from his hometown Sirte and his tribe, the Gaddafi. They stretch down the entire middle of Libya to its southern border, but they're a small tribe and potentially disloyal in places.
They're surrounded by many other tribes. Many of these other bigger tribes have broke ranks in terms of their alliance or allegiance with this regime. The Gaddafi, being small and being surrounded by them, will have to take into account the consequences of Gaddafi's fall, the post-Gaddafi era. And at that point, you are likely to see defections from within this tribe.
So even if the insurgency is emboldened, it's acting carefully. They now have very large numbers of tanks, heavy weapons and ammunition at their disposal, as well as people queuing in line to join a new army. At the moment, though, they say they want to reinforce their towns before moving on the capital.
We have a force that can protect Benghazi. The force may use heavy trucks to transport tanks to go to Tripoli and pass through Sirte on the way because it still supports the regime. The power we have is enough. The ammunition, supplies and fuel are also enough. We don't have a problem.
When that attack might be is perhaps the most important question. Gaddafi's latest interview with Western media added nothing to the sum of knowledge, and anyway his assertion that all of Libya loves him is in direct conflict with all the attacks mounted on rebel towns. If he won't step down or leave the country, his fates must surely rest in the hands of those closest to him or those on the other side of the country. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's hear from Tony Birdley, who is in that eastern city of Benghazi, now an opposition stronghold. This is what he had to tell us a short while ago.
Well, people in Benghazi are welcoming the talk of an air exclusion zone because that would remove the last remaining threat, we think, because on the ground, Gaddafi's forces are about 600 kilometres away. They're well armed and well trained, but it's a long way between there and here.